Welcome to the My Creative Days podcast, where we will talk about all things DIY, home decor, decorating tips, and creating a beautiful home on a budget. I am hoping our time together will spark a creative idea, help you plan your next DIY, or inspire you to finally tackle that project you keep putting off. Grab your favorite cup of motivation and let's chat. Hello and welcome back to the podcast. Today I am going to be talking about budget DIY. So if you have been following me for any amount of time, you know that budget DIY and budget-friendly DIY, that's like my jam. That's what I love. The reason we started DIYing was because of our budget. We had a very tiny budget when we bought our first house, and we needed to furnish it and decorate it on a tight budget. And so DIYing was the way that we had to get creative and figure out how to get the look for a lot less. And so that's how we started. That's how My Creative Days was born. That's like the foundation to all of this. So here's some things that if you are DIYing, you know, you do it yourself, so you think, oh, you're saving a ton of money. But if you don't, I mean, you can also spend a ton of money. It's so funny. Like one of the things that I now do inside, like if I'm in a store and I find something for our home or whatever, my first question is, number one, obviously I look at the price. And then if the price is like a little iffy, like, I don't know. I always say, can I DIY this? Can I make something that looks just like this? Can I get this look for a lot less by DIYing? It's so funny because I'll be in a store and I'll take a photo of it and I'll send it to Matt and I'll say, can we do this for a lot less than whatever it is? I mean, and it could be a $30 decor piece or whatever. And I'm like, okay, $30, but really all it is, a couple pieces of wood and, this and that. And I know I can get this look for a lot less. So that is like my motto even now, if I can DIY it. But when you're DIYing, there's something else to also think about. It's the time that it would take you. So, a lot of times, it'll be matte, like let's say it's a smaller something and it would be a lot of cuts. And I know it would take Matt maybe 3 or 4 hours. So I always take that like into consideration too. And he will be the first one to be like, if we're out shopping together, side note, my husband loves to shop. I've said that here before on the podcast. I mean, like I will just run to the grocery store or I'll just like have to run to Walmart or Target or something to get something. And he's like, I'm going to go with you. So we will be, just browsing around any store and he will say, he'll pick up the item and he'll look at it and he'll be like, I can make that for a lot less. So So I always think about how long it would take us to DIY it. So if we're cutting wood and then I have to paint it or I have to top coat it or I have to, depending on what that is, I always take all of that into consideration when I'm figuring out, can we DIY this for a lot less? So, and again, the more and more you do it, the easier it gets to be like, like right away, like you can see like, okay, definitely not spending the $30 here. I can go home and DIY this, for a lot less and it won't take us that much time. So the more you do it, the easier you'll be able to just walk in and be like, yeah, nope, not going to buy this. And it's not even just wood things or like things you're going to paint. Like, think of like, I'm just trying to think of some decor, like glass vases that have like a mirrored effect, like, like a vintage mirror effect. Do you know what I mean? Like, mercury glass. That's what I'm thinking of. There's a way, a real easy way to do that. And it works every time. I've done it before. It's on my website, mycreativedays.com. And if you just search in the search bar, mercury glass, I did some Christmas bulbs, but you could do it in a vase as well. It works so easy. And it doesn't take a lot of time. Dry time is basically the time it takes. But, so it's things like that too. Like there are ways to get the exact look you want for less. So that's why when I am, I may be looking, through a magazine, or I may be, it may be something I see on HGTV or in a catalog or online. I always just keep mental notes, or sometimes, it's a Pinterest board of things that I love the look of them, but I know I can do it for a lot less. So it's just finding something, similar that I can paint, or like I said, the mercury glassing or whatever it is, to get the look for a lot less. So I'm just going to kind of share some tips or things to think about when you want to do DIY in the budget-friendly way. You don't want to spend a bunch of money. So number one is to plan ahead. And this kind of goes into what I was saying, when it's like I find something when I'm out and about, and it's, you kind of have to think about, okay, how much materials do I need to buy materials, number one, or is it stuff that I can use from scraps or things that we have in the garage already? How much time is it going to take? Is this actually going to give me the look that I'm going for? Or am I just trying to recreate something? Like, definitely plan ahead and kind of know what's going to be involved. Because if you have to buy a ton of materials and products, so maybe it's a paint color that you would need to buy two, or, you need to get some rub and buff or some spray paint, or you need nails and screws. And, by the time you buy all of the products and supplies needed, you're well above what the price would have been in the store or online or whatever it is that you're doing. So definitely plan ahead and know like what you're creating is actually, budget friendly, and it's going to save you some money, in the end, than buying it like new. Shop smart for materials. So this is something that, materials is something that Matt and I both, always have like in the back of our heads, right? So if we're ever at a yard sale, estate sale, thrift store, restore, a flea market, wherever we may be, the side of the road, it doesn't matter. If we find materials, we pick them up for a good price. We pick them up, and it may be materials that we don't have a project going on right now, but like things like wood, trim, hardware, architectural pieces, things that you will use all the time, on different projects, or when an idea sparks, or like you've got an idea and you're like, oh my gosh, I want to DIY that. I can save a lot of money. It's so amazing to be able to just go into your garage and you have all the materials there. And then knowing on top of that, you didn't spend a lot of money for those materials, because you're constantly, you have your eyes peeled for those kinds of things that you use all the time when you're out and about at like, your yard sales, thrift stores, and all of that. So definitely always keep that in mind. But also when you're at Lowe's, Home Depot, Menards, wherever you shop, if there's, deals, discounts, sales, on things that you use all the time, then pick them up. But there are going to be those times. When, and for us, it's always like the bigger sheets of wood that we may need for a desktop, shelves, something like that. Those are kind of sometimes harder to come by. But Restore is a great place. If you have a Restore, always check that. But so it's, those kinds of like 4x8 sheets of things, like those kinds of, boards and wood, though we usually don't have those on hand. So we will head out and have to buy those for different projects. But, we are always comparing prices at the different stores. We are always trying to figure out, we actually just did this for a desk that we put together for Gabrielle. I wanted a certain look, or, thickness to the desktop that we were putting on her desktop. But I also know that's her art nook, and I know that she's going to get paint on it, and I know that she's going to get, glue, whatever it is, on it. So I didn't want to spend a ton of money on like a real thick butcher block or something like that, for her tabletop. And so we were looking in the stores, for a thicker board. And then if we added trim to the front to make it even look a little bit thicker, like it was just going to save us a ton of money in the top of her desk that we were putting together. So definitely you just have to, always be on the lookout for supplies and materials, always. Buy them, even if you don't need them, if they are dirt cheap, just buy them and create a little storage area wherever in your garage or a workshop. And then when you do have to go out and buy something, just make sure you really think about the project and ways that you can get the look for a lot less, just by doing it a little bit differently. Use what you have. So that kind of goes like with what I was just talking about, but we are always, so like, since we're in the middle of working on her Art Nook area, that's something that, I wanted to add trim. We added, some, what do I want to say, vertical, like slats on all over the walls in the Art Nook. And then I wanted to add just like a piece of trim on the bottom, just so it kind of looked more finished. And I instantly said, I don't want to buy new trim because, again, trim is something that we pick up all the time when we find it at Restore. The real good stuff, we always pick it up because, it's not only, right now, but if we ever got a flip house, we like to have some of those things on hand. Now, I don't have a huge workshop or a big garage somewhere to house this stuff. Someday we're going to have enough house projects that I may have to get that someday, but that's the goal. But right now, sometimes we do have to not pick up something because we don't have the space to store it. But I said, we just needed a little bit of trim. And I said, I know we've got a trim board out there. And so that's what we used. We did have one. I painted it the color of the walls and then we added that to the trim. So we are constantly, same with like hardware, for like dressers and things I'm flipping. I am always on the lookout for good hardware. Again, thrift stores, yard sales, estate sales. And so when I find that, I always pick them up. Also, when I pick up a piece of furniture and maybe it's missing, one knob or one pole, I take the rest of the knobs or poles off and then I save those. I can't use them on that project because we're missing one, but there will come a project when I can use those on something else. So I'm constantly trying to repurpose what we can, and I always use what we have first, if it will work, obviously, before I want to go out and buy anything new. Borrow or rent tools. So in the beginning, when we were first DIYing, my dad had all the tools. We did not have anything. And so we were always borrowing his tools. If you have a friend, a neighbor, a family member that you can borrow tools from, do that before you go out and buy them. Just until you learn the different tools, learn what you maybe would use the most. Definitely borrow, or if you don't have anybody to borrow them for, then rent them before going out and purchasing brand new tools for your projects. Embrace the DIY supplies. So instead of purchasing expensive pre-made supplies, consider making your own. So this is one of my favorite things that I have done. I've done it in flip houses. I've done it here in our house. Is the mismatched paint section at your home improvement stores? Literally is one of my favorite areas in the home improvement stores. Now, ours used to be packed with those, and I don't know if people are just catching on or if they're just not doing it as much, but I would go, like if we had a DIY project, Matt would be in the rest of the store and I would be like, hey, I'm just going to go back to the paint section. And so I would find paint and I would mix custom colors, just so, cause you could buy like a gallon, for $5 or something, cause it was mismatched. But if you could buy a couple of gallons, and then, mix them together to get more paint is basically, on a very less expensive than buying one whole gallon of paint. My gosh, that was so hard to get out. So basically I would want to, if I knew I was going to need more paint, and especially when you're doing a custom color and you're just mixing colors, you definitely want to have more paint than you need. And so that's like, if you can make a color or, and save a ton of money, just use do that. I have done that with paints that I have, left over, like the little furniture paints that I have. If I have like a few colors left over, and you don't have enough to do like a full dresser, but yet if you mixed them all together, you could do a whole dresser. So I've done that too. So, just think of the ways for you to make your own DIY supplies that, if you've got like other things you can put together like that, instead of having to go out and buy brand new. Prioritize essential tools. A well-equipped toolbox or tool shed is great, but purchase the essential ones that you're going to use most often, right? So like a drill is something that you will use all the time. Like invest in a good, drill, prioritize that over like a table saw, you know what I mean, that you may not use all the time. Start with the basics. That's one thing that I think you do not have to start out DIYing with a ton of fancy tools. Start with the basics. As your love for the DIY and as your skills grow, then you can gradually add new ones in, but you just start with the basics when you're first starting out. Join DIY communities. So there's tons of inspiration. YouTube. Go to mycreativedays.com and you'll find a ton of projects and easy projects and tips and tricks and techniques. And there are communities out there. I started the Furniture Flipping Academy for this reason, for furniture flippers. It's amazing what being surrounded by people that know and understand what you're doing, what it can do for your confidence, for your motivation, for your dedication to whatever it is that you're doing. So if you can find a community to join, definitely do that. It's just helpful. And you're surrounded by people that are, right at the same level you are. And you're also, surrounded by people that have been there, done that, and can teach you so much with whatever it is that you're trying to do. Budget-friendly DIY, revamp your home decor. It's like the most budget-friendly DIY that you can do. Create your own artwork. Go to the thrift stores and find a canvas that's already been painted. Paint over it with new colors and things that fit your style. Throw pillow covers. You can pick up napkins, fabric napkins, at your local Walmart or Target, and you just take off the little bit of the stitching. Find those napkins that are like double-sided. They're like stitched together. You just take off a little bit of that stitching, stuff them with your cotton batting, and then sew that little area back together, and you have custom pillows, throw pillows. I've done that many times. I have that whole tutorial on my website as well. And just use, you can do decorative accents with fabric remnants, yarn, thrifted frames. Like DIYing, your decor will save you so much money in decorating your home. Repurpose and upcycle. This is one of my favorite things. Repurpose things that would otherwise be thrown out or it's heading to the landfill. You've seen pallet DIYs and, things made out of pallets alone. Those are a beast. We went down that route when we were trying to save a ton of money on wood for different things. But some of those pallets are so hard to take apart. Mason jars. There's so many things that you can do to repurpose and upcycle. I have a whole section on my website just for that. Repurposing and upcycling. It is one of my favorite things to do. And so you can check out a bunch of inspiration there as well. And learning new skills. So investing time in learning a new skill that you can learn or you can use in your DIY projects is time well spent because it's going to be money saved in the long run. So if you can learn a new skill, give yourself a goal once every 3 months, learn how to use a new tool or learn how to do, 45-degree cuts or learn how to, flip a piece of furniture, whatever it is like that. Taking the time to learn those new skills, it's only going to save you money in the long run when you're DIYing and you want to save a ton of money DIYing and decorating your home or all of that. So I hope these tips helped. DIYing does not have to cost a lot of money. There are definitely ways that you can save money on your projects. These are just a few, but it's so much fun. It's so much fun. Start DIYing. Start that project you've been putting off. If I can help you, you can reach out to me on my Instagram at mycreativedays. You can always email me, lindsay@mycreativedays.com. I'd be happy to help, but check out my website, mycreativedays.com. There's so many, I have put, and my YouTube channel. I have a ton of DIY videos on there as well that kind of shows you the process. So just take some time to browse around the YouTube or the website, just to get some ideas going or some inspiration or just like a little tip that you wouldn't have thought about. But do it. Definitely do your DIY project. Don't put it off anymore. You can do it. You're going to learn so much. And it really can. It has saved us so much money through our flip houses, decorating our own house. And it's something that we just enjoy doing now. So we always have a project going on. So until next time, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you really soon. Hello, friends. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I'm grateful that you tune in every week and that you share the show with your family and friends. I love having creative chit chats with you, and my hope is that this podcast will inspire you to try a new project, start a DIY that you've been putting off, and decorate your home exactly how you want it. There are a few ways you can help us with the podcast. Follow the podcast so you don't miss an episode. And if you could take a few minutes to leave the podcast a review, that would help us so much. Again, thank you for being here, and I look forward to our chat next week. Bye-bye.